Good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Friday. We made it to Friday, so I hope that your work week or your school week has finished off strong. Hope that you're doing well and hope that you're safe with you and your families wherever you are in the world. I am doing really well. It's a beautiful day out where I live. Maybe it's going to be a little bit warm today, but otherwise, I think we are headed for a pretty good day here. Just really grateful that I get to spend more time with all of you and talking about data science and keep on building our community because, this is what I'm passionate about. So I can really talk about, data science all day. So really glad that you're here. Really glad that we get to spend this time together. I was having some problems with my camera earlier, so I had to make adjustments and reboot my machine and all this other stuff. So I'm glad that I was able to start everything on time because sometimes you just never know with the way the camera setups and all the software goes. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we're able to spend time together. Now, for those of you that are new, welcome. We like to start off with our global roll call. That's where we invite everyone to introduce themselves, let us know your city, state, province, country, all of that good stuff. Let us, it lets you practice introducing yourself in a professional way. And then it also helps you meet the community and it also keeps the chat inclusive. So if you could please, do that, I'd appreciate it. And then I want to make sure I add that to my Instagram. I always forget that's. You do that. Okay, so that should now be pinned in Instagram also. But after that, I also like to do an opening note. So I always like to just kind of talk about, different things that I'm looking at or different things that I'm currently finding inspiring or whatnot. And then as you guys fill up my chat, I go ahead and I can start looking at the introductions and things along those lines. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today for my opening note is that I'm really starting to be inspired by, as most of you know, I have a coach for weight loss that helps me stay accountable and gives me tips and gives me different things to think about. And he is getting ready to embark on an 800-mile journey. Yes, 800 miles. So for those of you overseas, that's about, what is that? 1,400 kilometers, 1,400 kilometers, I think was what it would be, roughly. He's going to be taking on the Arizona Trail. He's going to be starting tomorrow morning. And he's trying to break the record for the fastest known time of that crossing. And I think that is just amazing. That is amazing that somebody could take that on. So I did include a story in my Instagram, and I'll probably include another one tomorrow after he officially starts. But I did want to, kind of highlight that to all of you if you want to follow a really inspiring story of, what the human body can do and the different things that we're capable of. I think it's amazing. So he's doing 800 miles north to south of the entire state of Arizona, which is a pretty big state. And he's doing it all on foot, running, hiking, walking. So really inspiring to me, something that I think that there's just amazing people out there that are taking on these different challenges, different human feats that, don't get a lot of coverage, don't get, front page of the New York Times or things like that. But it's pretty amazing. I'm pretty proud of him. Pretty happy that that he's taking it on because I know it's a big goal for him also. So, just wanted to share that with all of you because I think it's really inspiring what we as humans could do when we set our mind to it. But I will post his information again on my Instagram stories and maybe even on the Discord. So that if you guys also find inspiration from it, then that's a positive thing, right? So I'm already seeing my chat filling up, which is fantastic. So again, if you are joining us late, we ask people introduce themselves, let us know your city, state, province, country, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, so I'm already seeing a couple of new faces. Hi, I'm Harpreet, live in Toronto, Canada. Cool, welcome Harpreet. I think it's your first time, so welcome. Glad to see you here. Harpreet, I'm going to come back to your question, okay? Let me get through the introductions and I'll come back to your question. So again, if you're joining us late, let us know where you're from. Rex, our good friend Rex says, from New York City, happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you too, Rex. We made it to the end of the week. Well, not Fatima. Fatima has one more day of school left. But yeah, Fatima, also our friend from Meekness, says, hey sir, hey Fatima, how are you? Hope you're doing well. So it's not the end of the week for you, Fatima, but hope you're doing well out there. Denelson, our good friend Denelson says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Denelson. Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you're checking in from LA, and go Dodgers tonight, right? So for those of you who don't know, tonight is the start of the World Series. And it's the best World Series anybody could ever ask for. It's the LA Dodgers versus the New York Yankees. So coast to coast, two of the biggest teams, two of the most valuable teams in all of baseball, right? There are no teams more valuable than those two. Both of them really want to win. Both of them have some really good players. I happen to be a fan of both teams. You know, I allow myself to have a National League team and an American League team, and the Yankees are my American League team. But I'll always be a Dodger guy because I grew up in LA. So yeah, so good luck to both teams. But it's a 7-game series, or best of 7 games. So huge day in Los Angeles today, huge day in LA and New York also. But I know we do have some New York viewers here. So, you know, I respect the Yankees. I love being a Yankees fan when I was out in New York. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of support from New York, but you know, I got to go for the Dodgers. I grew up in LA. I grew up eating Dodger dogs, listening to Vin Scully. So I got to go with LA. Yeah, so good luck to the Dodgers. So Faisal from Kerala, India. Faisal, welcome. I think it's your first time, so welcome. Glad to see you here. It's always encouraging to see new faces, and I always appreciate my consistent viewers. The account just keeps growing, so I'm happy about that. We're on our way to 100,000 on YouTube. But thanks for being here. Osama, speaking of great supporters, my good friend Osama, happy Friday, sir. I hope everything is going well. Everything is going very well, very well. I'm gonna, you know, spend some time with you guys, and then I'm gonna go walking. I'm gonna go for my daily walk. I'm gonna do some uphills today. I think I need to do more uphills. And then I gotta go to the grocery store. I gotta pick up some grocery items, and then I'm gonna make myself a lunch. And we'll see what the day brings after that. You know, maybe watch a movie or something. We'll see. Hey, Hamza from Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, very cool. Hamza, I think it's your first time here, so hope you're doing well and out there in Tennessee. We have a couple people from Tennessee, so glad you're doing well. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the introduction. Michael says, good day, sir, Dennis, and everyone. Michael, our friend from Lagos, Nigeria. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, I think everyone's having a good day, so thanks, Michael. Good to see you. Denelson says, if you are in the LA area, be warned, it will be very hard to get around today. So please stay safe on the road. Yes. Denelson, you're right. I did see a meme, I think on TikTok about this. I mean, there's like 10 events or something crazy going on tonight in LA, in addition to the World Series, which is arguably the biggest event in the entire country right now, or at least on Friday night. But yes, I did hear about that, about how it's just going to be a nightmare of traffic. There's events, the games at Dodger Stadium, and then there's an event at the Staples Center, event out in Carson at the, SoFi Stadium, and there's an event at the Forum. There's stuff everywhere in LA tonight. So yes, Denelson, thanks for that reminder. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm not in LA. I will be there in a few weeks. But yeah. You definitely be careful if you're in LA traffic tonight. Leo says, bonjour, everyone. So bonjour to you too, Leo. Hope that you're doing well. Hope you're all having a great Friday. I think we're gonna have a great Friday, Leo. Thanks for that. Thanks for that greeting. Thanks for that introduction. Hi, I'm Hawa from Toronto, Canada. Nice, welcome, Hawa. Hope you're doing well. I think it's your first time, so welcome. Thanks for being willing to introduce yourself. You know, a lot of people on Instagram like to sit on the sidelines. They don't always like to introduce themselves, and that's okay. But glad you're here. Glad you're here. John Smith, I think it's your first time. Good morning. This is Hans from Connecticut. Welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad to see more YouTube people. My YouTube account keeps growing and growing. So always good to see the new faces. Welcome, Hans. Hope you're doing well out there. Okay, so Hamza is asking a question. So if there's anybody else that wants to introduce themselves, you know, please just let us know your city, state, country. Just an easy way for you to participate, you know, feel part of the conversation. But we have at least 2 questions. So Harpreet says, hi Dennis, would you recommend what programming languages a business intelligence student must focus on to be a data analyst, or any side course that a business student should take? I think you're asking 2 distinct questions there. If all you want to do is business intelligence and data analysis, then it doesn't hurt to learn Python, but you're also probably equally or, you know, better off learning a good BI package, right? Like Power BI or Tableau or MicroStrategy or one of those packages, right? I mean, if that's really all you want to do, just be a data analyst, then I would focus more on, oh, and also you want to know Excel backwards and forwards, right? So I would just focus more on things like Power BI, really knowing Excel and Tableau, right? You could argue that you don't need any programming languages for those, right? Maybe some VBA, right? I think Power BI also supports VBA. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd be surprised if it didn't. But that would be the answer for you. Now, if you want to do that more like in a programming style with an IDE, it's possible. But you know, so a language for that I would recommend would be Python, because that would prepare you if you wanted to go into data science in the future, right? But if you're really talking strictly about BI and data analysis, programming language may not be a hard requisite for that type of work. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so the second question you're asking, any side courses that a business student should take? That's like a separate question, right? Because a business student should be learning all kinds of different things already, right? But I guess it depends on your curriculum and what your curriculum already includes also. Because the curriculum of a marketing student is going to be different than the curriculum of like a finance student, as an example, right? And also depending on your school where you go. So I was a business student, and all of my tech learning, you know, like my programming skills, I learned on my own. I had some training ahead of time because I went to a technical high school. But what I would tell you as far as like classes that helped me the most, that I still kind of refer to when I work with my clients and on projects, would be a finance course, any level of finance, right? It could be an intro to finance, that's fine. And then an international banking course. Those 2 courses, I think, were courses that I still use the concepts. Like maybe I don't use the formulas and like all the little like fine details of it, but the concepts that I learned in those 2 courses were definitely important, right? So like a finance course is going to help you with all kinds of things, especially around understanding like net present values, right? Or structured banking and finance products. You're going to use that in your career as an analyst and as a data scientist at some point. International banking, super difficult course. Probably the hardest course I took as an undergrad, but the concepts you learn about the international movement and balancing of money, super important, right? It would be really hard to avoid that in your career as an analyst also. So that's what I would tell you as far as business students. And then on top of that, just make sure you take an arts course or something, right? You know, get something to round you out. Like take an arts course to help you just kind of get a different perspective on college and on the world and things like that. Like for me, one of my like totally free electives to choose from, I took a women in film course, and that was a really interesting course, right? The professor didn't really like me because she couldn't understand why there was a stupid business student sitting in her class. But take an arts course, right? Learn something. Take a pottery class, or take a painting course or something, right? Round yourself out as a human being, right? You don't want to be one of those finance geeks that just knows numbers or something, right? So round yourself out. Take an arts course. Take something that's not normal for a business student. I think that's a healthy thing. So I hope that helps you, Harpreet. Let me know if you have any follow-ups in the comments, okay? Rex says an art course like the art of data science. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. But see, but that's the thing though, Rex, right? That if you take an art course, it opens up your mind, right? It opens up your mind to other things, other possibilities, and that allows you to be a better data scientist, right? All right, so Rex getting cheeky. Rex, I thought you were gonna give me a hard time about adding to my list of biases, right? I just gave you guys a new bias. You guys beat me up yesterday over this. I just gave you a brand new one. All right, so our new friend Hamza says, what advice would you have for a fresh college graduate with a major in mathematics and economics who did a couple data science analytics internships and would like to find entry-level data science? Okay, that's a good question. Let's see. You had some data science and analytics internships, so that's important. So Hamza, let me know in the comments, how did those internships go? Can you rely on those people for references? Okay. And then the second thing I would tell you, Hamza, is I have a whole video on this. Excuse me. I have a whole video on this. I have the rule of three, right? There's two parts to the rule of three. Have 3 people review your resume. 3 people that are going to be completely honest with you and tell you whether your resume is good or whether it stinks, right? Don't send out your resume until you do that. And then the second part of the rule of 3, have 3 projects that you worked on your own from end to end. All right? Projects that you found the data, you did the modeling, you did the conclusions, you wrote the article. Not school, not from your internships, none of that. Have 3 of those ready to go. Don't walk into an interview without having 3 of those ready to go, posted on your LinkedIn, ready for you to talk about. If you can do that, then finding an internship or your first job in data science will come a lot easier. But let me know in the comments, okay? I'll give you a few minutes because I want to know about these internships, all right? Sarvesh, our good friend Sarvesh. Hello, Sir Dennis. Good morning to you. Good morning to you too, Sarvesh. Hope that you're doing well. Hope you're doing well out there. Denelson says a philosophy course will have you pondering for hours too. Oh yeah, absolutely, Denelson. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I also took a philosophy course. What was it? I think it was just like an intro to philosophy. Actually, I took 2 philosophy courses. But yeah, that'll absolutely help you. I think one of them was a business philosophy course, and that was super interesting. Super interesting. The different concepts you learn, the different authors that you should then look up afterwards. Everybody in college like feels like they want to read all the classic philosophers, right? So I started reading Immanuel Kant. Kant, however you pronounce it. I started reading some of his stuff and I found it interesting. I'm not sure if I remember most of it now, but yeah, that philosophy course led me to start reading more stuff. But yeah, Denelson's making a good suggestion. Go take an art course, a philosophy course, something to expand your mind, guys, right? You can't be, at the end of the day, guys, if you're going to work in data science, you're going to be working with people, you're going to be working with executives. You got to be an interesting person, right? You got to have stuff to talk about, right? That's why nobody likes the math nerds, because they got nothing else to talk about, right? So round yourself out as a person. That's a very, very healthy thing to do in your life. Rex says definitely gotta activate those creative genes. Absolutely, Rex. Absolutely. Otherwise, the ideas won't come, right? If you don't do that, if all you are is just encapsulated in your little world and you've never explored, then you're one-dimensional, right? You got to have different stuff in your life. You got to have good stories to tell, right? Leo says, yeah, there's also the Art of War. That's Dennis's favorite. Maybe. It's not a bad one. I do quote from the Art of War, right? I have used that with some of my bosses. But yeah, that's a good one. I like it. Very short read. Alile? I think it's Alile. Alile, we ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know where you're from, okay? Ahmad? I think it's Ahmad. Ahmad, let us know where you're from. We always ask new people, let us know their city, state, province, country, all that good stuff, okay? Rex says, didn't do any philosophy courses in college, but did some independent readings in the philosophy of science. Quite intriguing and insightful. My favorite philosopher after my limited reading is Karl Popper. Karl Popper. The name sounds familiar, but I can't remember like his fundamental teachings. Rex, if you're comfortable, can you give us like an elevator pitch on Popper? What's the elevator pitch there? Leo says, well, not sure reciting Kant to a business owner would be positive. You're right. You're right about that. He's definitely more on the socialist side for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was college, right? Well, what can you say, right? It's just the author that kind of struck me at the time. And I started reading some of his other stuff, right? But from that philosophy course, I still remember a lot of different things, right? Like I remember that in that course we studied like the Bhopal incident in India, which is obviously a huge event in the history of India and the world. So talking about the philosophy and some of the ethical issues around that, right? Around a massive incident like that. I think we also talked about, just like the different bases of philosophy, right? Like one of the basic things that we accept as a society is the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people, right? That's usually, in most cases, something that we accept as some that exists in our society, right? What is the next step? What is the next best action that's going to give the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people, right? That's fundamental to everything we do. So things like that, I think, are just really interesting to understand in your life and, in the world around you and all that. So, we can all have our different views. It's okay. Leo says, he's good, just as complex as heavy math. I think you're still referring to Kant there, Leo. Yeah, and Kant is not an easy read. But yeah, he's definitely heavy. Definitely heavy. So Alile says, I'm Mexican living in Phoenix, Arizona. Nice. Nice. Always getting more people on the West Coast. Wonderful. So Alile says, where did you take the philosophy course, especially the business philosophy? That was a class in college. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I think it was actually called Ethics in Business, but it was a philosophy course, right? So like ethics in business, but talking about things like the Bhopal incident, right? Or we were also talking about the, I think in the late 80s, right? If you guys remember, there was a, the U.S. and Russia, late 80s, not a great time for country relationships. And there's a famous story about how one day the US radars had a malfunction that made it look like there were 10 Russian missiles on the way. So what were some of the ethical questions around that, right? Do you verify the information? Do you retaliate? what are some of the measures that we have in place to help us in those types of ethical situations or ethical doubts, right? So it was studying things like that, and you learn a lot of philosophy along the way. But it was in college. It was an ethics and business course. But yeah, I mean, that was a while ago. I mean, I was in college a while ago, guys. But yeah, that's where I took that course. So Rex is giving us the rundown on Karl Popper here. He's the philosopher who championed falsification in science and was against confirmation bias. Think of scientists who only look into finding positive results in their experiments, but never look into cases where their experiments would prove false. Oh, very cool. That is very cool. I like that. I like that. Wow, yeah, lots to think about there, right? You know why this is standing out to me, Rex? Because, I'm not saying I'm an expert in these things, but I do know a couple of PhDs. My brother-in-law is one. My best friend, was pursuing a PhD. I'm not sure if people realize how much pressure there is on, researchers and university people to publish, right? You're only as good as the last paper that you published and where you published it, right? So that pressure creates more of that confirmation bias, right? Because you don't have a paper if you don't have good results to share, right? And we as data scientists can also run into that, right? Where sometimes you have to tell your clients, hey, you know what? There's no viable model here. If you want to give me more time, you want to give me more money, maybe I can help here, right? But you never know, right? So I can kind of see how that would be a good influence for all of us to read and all of us take away from, right? Because are you just putting extra polish on the good results without really having tested all sides of your theory, right? Are you rushing to get an answer for the sake of having an answer? Right? I think that happens. I think that happens more than people realize, right? So Leo says, ooh, he's friends with the PhDs. No, hold on a second. I said my best friend was pursuing a PhD. Okay, so let's address that first one. And the second one, you can't choose your in-laws. Okay, I'm just reporting that my brother-in-law is a PhD. You can't choose your in-laws. Don't shoot the messenger, Leo. I didn't say I liked him. I said he was my in-law. Okay. I'm just kidding. He's actually a great guy. He takes care of my sister and the kids, so I can't complain about the guy. But yeah, can't choose your in-laws, Leo. Okay, so let's pump the brakes there. Let's pump the brakes. When I express my bias, I stick with them. There will be no PhDs in this friend circle for this guy. Kareem and Watha. We asked people to introduce themselves. Please let us know your city, state, province, country. And, that way you can, join and be part of the community, okay? Lolman, our good friend Lolman from Nepal, says, good morning to you, sir, and good evening to me. Yeah, how you doing, Lolman? Hope you're doing well out there in Nepal. Hey, Lolman, is it cold in Nepal right now? What's the weather like? I mean, I know that Nepal is northern hemisphere, right? But, so it should technically still be like, summer or fall for you. But I guess I just never envisioned that Nepal is a place that gets like really, really like hot, right? Because also, I mean, you're at elevation, right? So probably doesn't get too hot. So let us know how it's going out there, Lalman. I know it's nighttime for you, so thanks so much for being here. But yeah, hope you're doing well out there. Leo says, "Lol." I'm just being honest, Leo. My friend was pursuing a PhD, not anymore. Can't choose your in-laws. Manoj says, greetings, Sir Dennis and everyone. Manoj from Bangalore, India. Sorry for being... Manoj, always good to see you. You're such a great supporter. Guys, you don't have to apologize for being late, okay? It's okay. It's totally okay. Again, my fear is that some people are not coming back, or they're afraid to come back because they're embarrassed or whatnot. Guys, it's totally okay. Totally okay. Don't worry about it. You know, if you're a little bit late, that's okay. If you don't, if you need to take a break, or you want to do other things or whatnot, that's okay, right? It's totally okay. You know, as I told you guys, I might have some breaks coming up because I got some trips. I'm gonna take a couple day break from streaming because I need to take care of some things around my house, things along those lines. You got to give time to miss each other, right? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. So, Alile from Phoenix says, "This is my first time. This conversation is very interesting. Thank you." Oh, I appreciate that, Alile. Thank you. Yeah, obviously, I do have data science content, and if you have data science questions, I'm happy to help you with them. But I walk into these streams with no agenda, right? Basically, you guys set the agenda based on what you want to talk about, the questions I get, the people that show up. I like to think that I have enough experience where I can answer all comers, right? I mean, because I don't know what you guys are going to ask, and that's fun for me, but that's also because I'm passionate about data science, and I'm an old man, so I've been at it a while. But yeah, glad that you're here. Feel free to keep on coming back. Feel free to watch us on YouTube also, because sometimes it's easier to watch on widescreen. But glad to have you here, Alile. Leo says, we got to give time to miss each other, right? That's what my girlfriend says now, Dennis. That's funny. Yeah. Relationships are hard, right? But we have a different type of relationship here, right? I mean, I'm a content creator, but I also need time to do my own research and my own other activities that have fallen by the wayside. So for those of you that don't know, I have been on a quest to do 100 live streams in a row. Haven't missed a day. I will reach that on, Wednesday? Either Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And then I'm going to take a couple days off. And then I'm going to come back for our Sunday series. For those of you that don't know, like Alile, if you're enjoying this, you might also enjoy our Sunday series. That tends to be a little bit more instructional, a little bit longer. And in this series, we are doing a ground up project. We're doing a project from beginning to end, a data science project, obviously. So we worked on the contract, we worked on the agile planning. Last week we worked on ideation, we even scoped out some code, and now we're going to move it even forward in there, right? We're going to start scoping out different things. We're going to start doing some EDA. We're going to start looking at different things, right? So if you guys want to do that, come on Sundays. I'm going to do my best to not have a break in that Sunday series because a lot of people enjoy it. But there's going to be some changes coming up for the stream, right? Different scheduling, a little bit different content. I'm really excited about the CES show coming up. I'm going to be doing a lot of content around the CES show. I'm going to be testing and trying as many AI products as I can for you guys. Because I like to give my opinion on these companies, right? So I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be taking my notes, and I'm gonna be, doing reviews for you guys, right? So that'll be fun, right? So yeah, we'll see. Michael says, just rejoined. Are we doing the article today? Yeah, Michael, I think we'll do the article in a couple of minutes. Okay, I just want to get to all the other questions because we have some good questions here. Okay, so Watha says, I'm from Hyderabad, India. Okay, cool, welcome. Thank you for introducing yourself. So Watham says, what's your take on the Julia programming language and its future in data science? I'm not optimistic. So speaking of the Sunday series, this is one of the Sunday tutorials we did. So Watha, you're welcome to look it up on my YouTube, Data Science with Dennis. We actually did a whole Sunday tutorial where we put Python and Julia head to head. And I think that if you were to ask the people that attended, nobody was really excited about Julia. Yeah, Leo says, oh boy, Julia is back. Leo was somebody who attended. And I don't think many of us walked away with a positive impression of Julia. And the whole reason we looked at it was similar to your question with as far as like, hey, we know that Julia's out there. We know that Julia is a capable language. Should we be using it? And, you know, I think I'm being accurate when I say our conclusion was no. We didn't see a great performance gain. It was a lot harder to get up and running than Python, right? Because we did similar neural networks in both of them, right? So the frameworks were not as mature as maybe the ones on Python were. And we didn't really see a great performance improvement. And then I think, I don't know how much we discussed it, but to me, the syntax for Julia is a little harder than Python. So you're not gaining anything on the syntax, right? It's not like you could say, oh, but it's easier to write in Julia. You know what I mean? So yeah, so with I would say that the you know, the overall conclusion from our experiments was a big thumbs down on Julia, right? But again, you're welcome to look that up on my YouTube channel. If you're part of our Discord, I'll put it in the Discord. But yeah, if anybody wants to correct me, you know, feel free if you were there. But I really don't think anybody who attended that Sunday, you know, walked away being excited about Julia. So there's your answer. Leo says, hope Rex is doing well with this weather in New York City. Oh, what's going on? Is it rainy out there or what? What's going on? Let me know. Lots of New Yorkers are going to be indoors. They're going to be watching the Yankees here in a few hours, right? It's going to be, I think it's a 5 o'clock game here in LA. But yeah, but it's going to be a good day to be indoors and watch the Yankees. So I don't know if you or Rex are Yankees fans, Leo, but big night in baseball tonight. Big night. Alile says, I will join the Sunday series. Yeah, please join us. You know, there's some people who only come for the Sunday series. But yeah, every Sunday, same time as this stream, 1500 GMT. We just try to keep it fun, keep it instructional. And if you want to get caught up, Lile, everything is on my YouTube. Okay, it's in the archive, so you can go ahead and look at the part 1, part 2, part 3 in my archive. Rex says, "Go sports ball." Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I guess that tells us about Rex's fan of baseball. Michael says, "Crazy rain here, and it's not supposed to be raining by this time of year." Okay, yeah. I mean, remind me, is Nigeria north or south of the equator? I think it's south, right? So yeah, it's supposed to be your springtime right now. Let me know, Michael. Yassine, our good friend Yassine. Hello, sir. A late Yassine from Tangier, Morocco. Oh man, I hope you're late for good reasons and not bad reasons. Hope you're doing well out there, Yassine. But yeah, glad to have you. Always glad to have you here, my friend. Always glad to have my Moroccan supporters. Leo says, just cold as hell. Oh, that's because you live in New York. This is the time of year, right? It's supposed to be cold. Today I think it's going to be 80 for me out here, so it's still pretty warm out here for me. When I go, like, I think it was when I went walking on Wednesday, it was pretty warm. It was crazy. Leo says, yesterday was warm, today chilling. God bless her immune system. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You and Rex are tough. You guys will be fine. Satyam, so good to see you again. Hey, Dennis, long time no see. How are you from Delhi, India? How are you? Good to see you back, my friend. I'm doing well, thanks. I'm doing very well. You know, just kind of going with the flow. I'm trying to finish my 100 days of continuous streaming. But yeah, everything's well. I hope everything's well with you. It's been a while, so I'm glad you're back. Glad you're back. With us says, thank you so much for your POV. Yeah, with go ahead, like I said, go ahead and check out that video. I'll post it in the Discord. But you know, Julia did not give us a positive impression during our tests. So, something to consider there. All right, so anybody else who wants to introduce themselves, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, it seems like Michael wants to do the article that I had posted. So again, if you're new, sometimes we will do like a review of an article or a study that catches my eye, something that we can all look at and think about. And, just kind of develop our skills in a different way, right? I mean, I really appreciate the discussions that we've had this past week. Well, really all the discussions, because we always go in different directions. And I really hope that the biggest takeaway in all of this is that, you guys can realize that there's so many facets to data science. There's so many things you have to know and be at least a little bit knowledgeable on, right? You don't have to be an expert in everything, but it's important to kind of be, well-rounded in your studies and your approach and your perspective, and seeing other people's perspective, because it's important, right? It's just the life of a data scientist. So let me go ahead and start bringing that up. If you guys need me to zoom this, let me know. I think this does need a little zoom. So this article caught my eye, and I put the link in the Discord if you guys wanted to read it. But it's an interesting use of data science. Excuse me. But a couple of things stood out to me. Do you guys think that an AI model is required to help with these ophthalmology findings, right? So basically, the ophthalmologists have this infection, infectious keratitis, which can cause blindness if it goes untreated. And the way they detect it is by medical imaging, right? Which is very common. Very common in a lot of diseases is what I meant to say. Very common in medical uses, right? Do you guys think that AI is necessary in order to do medical imaging? What do you guys think? Because that's the first thing that caught my eye. What do you guys think? Or asked another way, is there a potential for AI to be used in this type of analysis? Lord M, welcome. We always ask people to introduce themselves, so let us know where you're from, okay? But Lord M does say that somehow yes, okay? Anybody else? Okay, Denelson. Yeah, yeah, guys, Denelson is on the right track here. When it comes to medical imaging and things like that, doesn't it feel like it's more machine learning than AI? Yassine says, I think yes. Okay. Yassine, if you want to provide examples, you're welcome to. I don't want to put you on the spot. Feel free to not do that. But that's the first thing that caught my eye. And maybe that's me being a little bit pessimistic, because I am a pessimistic person by nature. But to me, this feels like marketing. This title feels like marketing, right? Rex says there's a lot to consider. I'm sure there are use cases where AI can help in healthcare. A case could be where there's no physicians, but there's tech available. Okay. Okay, Rex, I can appreciate that. I think that you're looking, kind of beyond this particular study, right? And perhaps I should have taken the time to set up the study a little bit more. But the study basically just focuses on, you know, taking pictures of people's corneas, I believe is where it starts. And then, 136,000 corneal images, and then detecting whether there's the keratitis there or not, or the early signs of the keratitis, right? So maybe I should have been more specific to this study. But really the point that I was trying to make that I didn't do so well is that studies, research companies, universities, they use marketing too, right? They're trying to sound edgy and get SEO stuff, they're just like any other company that's trying to sound like hip, right, and current, right? So to me, claiming that this is an AI powered model is a bit of an overstretch, right? And as we read through the study, through the article, well, this is a summary of the study. We'll get to the actual study. They're basically saying that they took 136,000 corneal images, and they say that the results further demonstrate the potential use of AI, but the models themselves were machine learning, right? Because here it says it talks about how they utilize deep learning models to diagnose the keratitis. When you're talking about deep learning, you're most likely talking about machine learning rather than AI, right? Or at least generative AI, right? Lord says from the Philippines, Manila. Great, welcome, Lord. Glad to have you here. Thanks for introducing yourself, and thanks for contributing an answer. So with us says, I don't know about the cornea, but there are already some companies working on glaucoma-related things, a condition that affects the optic nerve, as glaucoma is 2 or 3 most reason people go blind. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right about that. There's definitely a lot of examinations around glaucoma also, right? So with from what you know about these glaucoma tools, are they machine learning or are they AI? Because I'm going to say that they're probably also machine learning, right? Rex says, so AI is more marketable term than machine learning. Yeah, absolutely, right? Because I think that more people understand AI now than they do machine learning, right? And when I say people, I'm talking about like the general public, right? Like, so like when these studies end, right? When these studies end and they want to market them, they'll send them out to a bunch of journals or a bunch of reporters, right? Like media reporters. So they're marketing to those reporters, right? Reporters are, and the general public are much more likely to understand what AI is than what machine learning is, right? Now, their definition may not be 100% correct, but they're much more willing to give you an answer about AI than machine learning, right? So in that regard, that's what caught my eye. The second thing, Sarvesh says, what is AI according to you? In my understanding, ML is what powers AI, at least most AI these. Yeah, Sarvesh, you're on the right track. Machine learning is definitely an underlying tool used by AI. So there's a lot of variations on this answer, and all of you are welcome to disagree with me, or present your own answer, your own rationale. But to me, the difference between the machine learning and AI are two. One is a generative, right? In order to be generative, you kind of have to be AI, right? Machine learning on its own isn't always generative. Yeah. I mean, there's some cases where it is generative. But yeah. But really the most important part to distinguish AI from machine learning is, does it have a self-training mechanism to help future iterations of its own model? Can it learn on its own? That to me is the biggest difference, right? Does it have its own potential to learn on its own? Not all machine learning models do that. The ones that do are definitely more, in the AI space. Manoj says, I agree with Sarvesh. But he's asking a question though, Manoj. So, yeah, he's asking a question about what is AI according to you. So Manoj, did you want to present your view on what is AI? But that's my basic takeaway from it, right? That AI has the self-learning capabilities that other models do not. So you're welcome to disagree with me. I'd love hearing people's rationale on this. I think it's an interesting question. So let me know what you guys think. All right, so while you're thinking about that, here's what they're saying. They achieved a sensitivity of 89.2 and a specificity of 93.2. The humans can do 82% sensitivity and 89% specificity, right? Is anybody excited about that, or anybody have thoughts about that? What do you guys think when you see that? Here's what the machine learning model did, right? 89 and 93. And here's what the humans are doing, 82 and 89. What do you guys think about that? So Rex says, my concern in this case would be how misleading it is to use the term AI over machine learning. I've seen them used interchangeably many times, but not sure if it's used to mislead or to gain people's buy-in. It's probably a little bit of all of those, Rex. Is it, well, maybe not intentionally misleading, right? And I say that because the writer of this summary may not have known any better, right? This summary is on a website that's trying to, get better SEO results or whatever, right? So they're going to use AI. But that's not intentional. They just don't know any better. They don't know the difference between machine learning and AI, right? But I definitely think that it's more marketing than it is accurate, right? Yassine says, I don't know why my answer didn't show up, but I think for image analysis, CNN and capsule networks are very good tools. Maybe we can extract features and form classes of people and do experiments. On experiments on classes that have different characteristics and see how each class responds. Yeah, Yassine, I'm on board with that, but is that machine learning or AI? I think you're still fundamentally describing a machine learning approach, right? Let me know what you think about that, Yassine. With us says the companies are basically working on IoT to help analyze data from sensors, so maybe it's more associated with machine learning. Yeah, okay, so you're going back to the glaucoma example. Yeah, and I think you're right. So maybe glaucoma is diagnosed differently when you're talking about analyzing data from sensors. But in this case, we are told that they are just using images, right? It says here, the models in the study had analyzed 136,000 corneal images combined, right? So to me, this is just image processing with a machine learning model. Not knocking it, right? I mean, good for them, but not AI, right? So right there, just reading the headline and understanding how this would be done, it's kind of like, takes away the credibility a little bit, right? So Osama says sensitivity and specificity, the ability of the model to correctly identify negative and positive instances. Yeah, Osama, but what do you think about the numbers though, right? Because they have what the humans can do, right? So what do you think about the levels themselves? Leo says, I don't think we should mistake technology with technique. AI systems are a new technology that involves not only DS or ML techniques. Yes, but does this study involve that though, right? Leo, that's kind of the question. Like, we're using our critical eye here to say, are they actually using AI or are they just using that for a catchy headline? Because everything in the article to me sounds like a machine learning model. Right? Let me know what you think about that. So the real question that I must understand fully is the difference between AI and ML, because for me, I thought that neural networks are outside ML. Really? Or maybe I don't have the correct understanding. So where would you put neural networks then, Yassine? Where do those sit in your definition? Let me know what you think. I'm curious about that. Because to me, they do sit within machine learning. They're not the only model within machine learning. And maybe we should take the time to define what machine learning is. Maybe that's another question, right? Leo says, yeah, so it's wrong. Next. Okay, Leo, well, the next thing is to look at the numbers, right? Because they're giving you how the model did and how the humans did, right? And you know what, guys? This brings up a good opportunity to talk about this and maybe address some of Yassine's thoughts, right? So what is machine learning? You guys are welcome to disagree with me on this, but I've been using the same definition of machine learning for like 8+ years now. And the definition of machine learning that I've heard, and I can't remember the source on it, I think it was like a Google or some conference paper. I don't think it was Google, somebody's conference paper. The basic definition was machine learning is teaching an algorithm to do something humans can already do. Right? That's what you're doing. A machine learning algorithm tries to mimic something that humans already do. And you're doing it with a mathematical representation. There's a lot of different models in machine learning, but neural networks are also very effective at being able to decide what to do. So therefore, they are also a machine learning technique. The way you create them is a little bit different than some of the other models, right? More complexity, more processing power, time, things along those lines. But they're still machine learning because they're still replicating something that we can do. Like we as humans can do, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I put neural network with deep learning, and I don't know why I imagine that to be outside ML. I think that deep learning is an attribute of neural networks, right? But that doesn't mean that neural networks would be excluded from being machine learning. Because you do use neural networks to replicate things that humans know how to do. Right? You can teach a neural network to mimic human decisions or a human task. Like a categorization task, right? So I think deep learning is an attribute of neural networks, but the family that it sits in would still be like machine learning. Michael says, I think the confusion in neural network is in machine learning and deep learning. Yeah, sure. Sure. I'm just not comfortable breaking out deep learning into its own family of techniques, right? I think it's an attribute of different models, but I don't know if it's its own family. Does that make sense? Let me know what you guys think about that, right? Because when you think about deep learning, it's hard to think about other things besides neural networks, right? A neural network is basically the underlying technology in deep learning. I don't know if I'm on board with that, Michael. I think deep learning is a requirement of neural networks, or at least of effective neural networks. But I just don't see deep learning as its own family of products. Because what else would you put in there? Right? Like I said, I think it's an attribute, but I don't know if it's its own family. What do you guys think? I'm happy to be wrong on any of this, guys, right? If you guys want to present other rationale, go ahead, please put it in the comments. But that's just the way I've always seen it. To me, machine learning is always the biggest umbrella there. Because again, machine learning is teaching an algorithm to do something a human can already do. Categorizations, predictions, that's what we use them. That's what we use machine learning for, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't know where you would put deep learning as its own group under that. I just don't see it as its own family. But let me know. Feel free to disagree with me. All right, so coming back to the question of the sensitivity and the specificity, I don't know if I'm excited by the difference. I mean, there's definitely a difference in the sensitivity, right? 82% that the humans can do versus the 89%. That's pretty good. But 93 versus 89 on the specificity? Is that a big enough gap where we can eliminate noise? Is anybody excited about that difference? I mean, we could apply some math here, right? We need a little bit more information. But is anybody excited about that difference? If you were to run the study again, you might get a whole other answer, right? What do you guys think about that? Leo says the level of complexity is different between them in terms of computer power and size, especially for deep learning, but in the core, they're all the same. Yeah, I hear you on that, Leo, but that makes it an attribute. You're either using deep data or not. But it's not its own family, right? Sensitivity and specificity are only part of the puzzle. We also need to consider the clinical significance of this study. Where will this machine learning product be used? What's the disease prevalence and incidence? How well trained is the clinical staff? What's the finance, economic status situation? Yeah, Rex, really good points. Really good points. I think that this talks about how it happens in it's caused by bacteria and fungal infection, and I believe that they cite it as being more prevalent in developing nations. I can't remember if it was here or in the study itself, but yes, you're right about that, Rex. Where it's used and how it's used, very important, right? Who cares how good a model is if the implementation stinks, right? The final implementation, right? Like that last mile that they always talk about, right? So yeah, good points, Rex. I appreciate you brought that up. So Leo says the training, the concepts, the methods, the names differ. Instead of dropping, they say pruning. It's only an attempt to make it new and more special. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I hear you on that, Leo. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like that you're getting down to specifics there. For me, I'm still thinking about it like on a big picture level, right? Like if I were to chart this out, I just don't see myself breaking out deep learning. I see it more as an adjective to other models, or like I said, an attribute of other models, rather than its own family specific model. But good discussion. And you know what? This reminds me again about how much we need a series on neural networks. We're definitely going to do a series on neural networks after the current series is over, because it would be good for all of us to sit down and talk about these items. So good stuff, Leo. Good stuff for everyone. All right, so here's another thing I want to look at. So again, critical eye. We're being our own researchers on this, right? Never accept something at face value. Always do your own research, do your own follow-ups. They offer a link to the study, right? So we're going to look at the actual study. Now, here's something else that I want you to look at. The method of research is usually something that's broken out by the good journals. And the method of research is really important to look at. Now, again, you guys are welcome to disagree with me. I'm not claiming to be an expert on this, but my understanding is that when it's a meta-analysis, that means that they use results and data from other studies. They didn't do their own study. In other words, it's not, they didn't have their own little lab set up and all that. They borrowed the data and some of the results from other studies to aid their own meta view of their analysis, right? So in something like this, I'm guessing that they used the corneal images from another study. They didn't themselves take 136,000 corneal pictures. They took it from other studies, right? That's usually what it would mean in this situation for a meta-analysis. Is that good? Is that bad? Maybe, maybe not, right? To Rex's earlier point, what if they were using outdated images, right? Or what if they were using images that were advanced and now they can't reproduce it in the countries or in the locations where they want to deploy, new equipment or a new clinic or something like that, right? I mean, that's not good, right? So Rex says, yeah, meta-analysis can be quite problematic. Many are plagued with garbage in, garbage. Yeah, absolutely, Rex. So that garbage in, garbage out definitely applies here. But again, Rex, to your point, what if the study was done on multiple studies? So now you're getting corneal images from different pieces of equipment, right? That you're taking in and publishing these results on. But in the field, if you're trying to start a small clinic somewhere where, keratitis is more prevalent or whatever, you can't reproduce those same images, right? Or maybe you only got one of the 3 machines. Well, now you can't claim to get the same specificity and all that, right? You can't be able to claim those numbers because you don't have the same mix of the metadata that you used in your study, right? So I think that those problems are kind of correlated, Rex, right? Where it's a meta-analysis where you're relying on somebody else, but you don't know exactly how they did it. And then now you in the field, come game time, come game day, you really can't reproduce the same results. Even though you've published them and you got a great article out of it or a great white paper out of it, right? Now your implementation totally goes down the drain. So I'm always, whenever I want to invest time in a white paper, that's the first thing I look for. Like even before I read it, I will say, okay, well, how did they do this? Is this a fresh study? Like, did they actually fund their own study? Or are they just reading other people's papers, right? So something for you guys to look at, super important. So Rex says, yep, exactly. Yeah, Rex, I think you and I are seeing this the same way. But yeah, I mean, be careful with meta-analysis studies, guys. And guess what? They're popular, right? Because they're cheap, right? You don't need a lot of funding for most meta-analysis studies. I mean, think about how much funding you would need to collect 136,000 of your own original corneal images, right? Like that's a huge investment, right? So this study cost them a fraction of what it would do, or of what it would have for like your own like genuine study, like your own end-to-end study. right? So be careful with that, guys. Happens a lot. Happens a lot. Okay, so now we go to the white paper. This is the link that it's sent to. And this is what I like to do. I like to actually go to the source, right? The link I got from I think like a Yahoo News article, but this is the actual source that's going to show us, what's actually done, right? Oh gosh, look at this. I missed this on my first read. But again, to the point about the meta-analysis and Rex's point, they collected studies from 1974 to 2024. I think there were some imaging advancements in that time. Yeah. That's not great, right? And it was from 963 studies. 963 studies identified 35 studies that contained the 136,000 corneal images. Is anybody excited about that? Anybody have concerns about that? Like right from the beginning, right? I'm not excited, right? I mean, seriously, like, is anybody concerned about that? That's not good. I mean, think about that. Because not only are you affecting the images, but you're also affecting the results that you published against the humans. Because now your specificity numbers and all that came from studies from 2 different generations of ophthalmologists, at least 2 different generations, maybe 3 generations of ophthalmologists, right? Because the ophthalmologists who were around in 74 were probably not around in 94, and the ones in 94 are probably like retiring now, right? Or maybe not, they're not around now, right? 94 was 30 years ago, right? So now you're also comparing against the analysis of 2 to 3 generations of the human professionals. So does that help you make your case? Probably not, right? Because now you're bringing human skill into the equation. Because remember, they're using that human skill as their baseline to say, hey, the model did better. That's not good, right? What do you guys think? Give me some feedback. I mean, not to bias you guys, but you guys should be alarmed, right? Like you should be calling this study into question. What do you guys think? Am I alone in this? Are you guys seeing? Are you guys confused? What do you guys think? Let me know how you guys see it. Oh boy, something else just caught my eye. This kind of validates what I asked earlier too, right? Look at this, guys. Did anybody see this just now? Remember how I asked you guys, are you excited about 93 to 89? Look at that p-value. Anybody want to tell me what that p-value means? That's funny because I didn't even catch that on my first read, but that's exactly what I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I mean, anybody want to interpret that p-value? I know you guys know p-values. Is it okay? AQQ. AQQ says they're confused. I appreciate the honesty. Today is a little bit more advanced because, you know, we are going through some of the, we're going through this study with a critical eye. But hang out, but hang out, keep coming back. You never know when things are gonna snap into place. So hang in there, AQQ, but I appreciate you being here, appreciate your honesty. Rex says not statistically significant. That's exactly right, Rex. It means that there's a lot of noise, right? P-value of 0.45, are you kidding me? But that's exactly what I told you guys, right? 3% difference, that's noise. That could be variance. You run the study another day, you'll get a whole different answer, right? The p-value would certainly tell you that, right? The p-value would say, hey, you can get any answer. Because it's noise, right? Michael says less than 0.5. Okay, so Michael, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Danger, danger, Michael. Danger, danger. Michael says agree with Rex. Yes, but why, Michael? I have a feeling that in your zero, in your answer, you were forgetting about an extra zero. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you as a data scientist should be looking at. Yeah, and Rex here is correctly citing statistically significant is less than 0.05, not 0.5, right? But yeah, but I mean, like I swear to you guys that I missed that on my first read through. But when I saw that on the summary, right? That's me in my developed eye looking at that and saying, well, 93 versus 89, that's only like 4% on 89.6. That's not great, right? That's not like a huge significant difference to me. Right? Now that was just my eye, you know, after years and years, right? But eventually all of you will develop like a nose for that, right? Like a nose for numbers, as I like to say. But that should stand out to you where you say 89 to 93, like is that great? Right? And then sure enough, we come to find the p-value at 0.45. I mean, look, even on the other one where they did manage to get 89.2 versus 82.2 on the sensitivity, that's still a p-value of 0.2. That's still a lot of noise, guys. Right? That's a lot of noise. Okay, so Michael, yeah, okay, Michael, yeah, I think you're getting it now, and you're right to agree with Rex. You know, Rex is seeing this right. So again, the whole point is not this study. The point is that, you know, this is how I read white papers. And this is how I apply my critical eye. And that's important because you will be asked for opinions on this, right? Your managing director is not going to sit down and read this study. He's going to ask you for a summary and your recommendation. Right? So that's why I'm presenting this to you guys. And I hope you see the value in that. Because it's important. It's important for you to really not even talk about data science at this point, right? We're talking about just our own scientific analysis, right? They're scientists, we're scientists. You publish because you're supposed to make things available for peer review. Peer review is a very important part of this scientific method, right? And here, we as peers can say, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with those p-values. So when my managing director asks me, I might say, hey, you know what? I enjoyed reading that study, but I don't think we should put a lot of stock into it. Here's why. Are you guys with me on that? I hope you guys can see that, right? I hope you guys can see like the meta view here, right? Because you know, I don't want us to kind of go into the deep end on like medical studies or this study. It's more about how you examine it from a meta view with your skills as a scientist, not just a data scientist. Rex says garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, Rex, that could definitely be a cause here, but it's not the only cause, right? It could just be a bad model too, right? It may just not be good, right? So there's definitely a lot of red flags. Don't get me wrong. When they're telling you they're using images from 1974 and 2024, like recent 2024, right? I mean, this is like just this past summer. So yeah, that's like a massive red flag. But what if it's just a bad model? Or, another meta view would be, well, wait a minute. If they've been studying keratitis since 1974 and it's still a problem, maybe it's just not solvable, right? I mean, you guys know how I feel about FSD, and you start to see that coming up on some of the Twitter chats, where people are like, hey, wait a minute, hasn't Waymo been working on driving cars for 10 years now? Right? Like at some point you have to take that time into account and say, well, geez, how do we have images from 1974 and keratitis is still like this massive problem, right? So that's another form of a critical eye that you guys can be applying also. To say, hey, something doesn't seem right here. Why is this still a thing, right? So maybe, you need to take a different approach, right? Or something else. And then, and then another meta view is, what does this say for their original title, right? Because their title is that they're asserting that AI can help ophthalmologists, right? Are you comfortable making that assertion after seeing these p-values? Is anybody comfortable with that? Right? Leo says, well, I'm questioning the quality of the data. They don't seem to have good criteria. Yeah, you're right, Leo. Now, they would probably tell you, well, we don't have good funding. This is the only way we can get the data, right? I think that's what most of these people would tell you. But yeah, but you can question the data. You can question the model. Maybe they used the wrong machine learning model. Maybe this is unsolvable. Remember how we talked about this before, guys, right? The root cause of all of this stuff is that people have the fundamental assumption that there's nothing that machine learning can't solve, right? Machine learning will save us all, and so will AI, right? But maybe there's some problems like FSD, like infectious keratitis, that can't be solved. I mean, these p-values would tell you that we are far, far from solving it, right? Like the p-values would tell you, you're still way, way far away from solving it. Rex says, would you be comfortable deploying this ML model in an iPhone app? No. That's the worst thing you could do. That's the worst thing you could do, right? Because we know that these images are most likely not from iPhones, right? You want to replicate your test items as much as you can in deployment, right? So that example I gave you, Rex, what if you pulled from, because they're telling you they pulled from 35 studies. Well, there's no guarantee that those 35 studies use the same type of equipment, right? So now you have fundamentally different structures to your input data. Now I know there's some pre-processing you can do and you turn them into black, but there's still a fundamental reliance there on multiple pieces of hardware. So you can't do that and take that and say, oh, we're going to forget all that, we're going to deploy it, and we're going to use the iPhone camera. That's terrible. I would never do that. You could restart the study, do your own pictures with iPhone pictures, then rerun your models, brand new study, and then you would have a viable app. But for this study, no. That's the last thing you would do. You that would be like throwing garbage on top of the garbage that you already know you're getting, right? So no, definitely not Rex. Bacardo, welcome. We always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, all that good stuff, okay? I think that's it for most of the study. Yeah, the rest is, really just kind of their own explanation of it, right? I think we just looked at the summary. But overall, just based on the summary and these findings, this is something that it's not a paper that I would want to say, that I would want to, take to my managing director and say, hey, you asked me to research this. I looked into it and we're good to go with this company, with this vendor, with this approach or whatever, right? Like I would not sign my name to that. Fatima says, I really appreciate how you analyze and interpret the paper. It's impressive. I'm just not very familiar with this area. And that's okay, Fatima. But these are the things that I think anybody at any data science study level can help themselves and help develop their skills more, right? So for example, Fatima, you know that I've told a lot of the students here, right? That, okay, you just started out, in your studies, that's okay. You're not ready for a full research study. But go take the small portions that you do learn and go find them for yourself, right? P-values you'll probably learn in your first year, right? Most programs will teach you p-values in your first year. So you could have come in here and just gone in and say, oh, wait a minute, P, I know what that means. So now what does 0.45 mean to me, right? What from what I learned from my instructor can I take away from that? Or I think they have, or here, look, they talk about confidence intervals, right? Like you should know that. In your first year, you'll probably learn confidence intervals, right? So now go out and find white papers that give their confidence interval. See, to me, these are great ways for you guys to build your skills. Maybe you only understand one portion, two different portions, because you've only taken one class, 2 classes. That's okay, right? But start building those little components. In a year's time, you'll have 7, 8 things you understand. In 2 years' time, you'll understand 10, 12 things. And now you can go group those together and you're on your way to a study, right? A study that you're developing on your own, right? Or an article, as I say, for jobs, right? So it's okay, Fatima. It's okay if you're not at this level, but you can practice with the small pieces that you do learn as you go in your courses, right? Like if they're teaching you p-values and confidence intervals, they'll also teach you about A/B testing, right? Or z-tests. So now go out and find where there's z-tests in white papers. And what does that mean to you? How do you interpret that? So appreciate the feedback, Fatima, but you can still start. Just little different things. Little different things. Rex says p-values is such a rabbit hole. It is, absolutely. But it's fundamental in statistics. Yeah. Yeah, more specifically, Rex, I would say it's fundamental in result interpretation, right? That's really what a p-value is telling you, right? Are your results good or bad? Or reliable or not, I should say, right? I shouldn't say good or bad. Are your results reliable or not? P-value 0.45, not reliable, right? Lots of noise. That's just noise. And then, like I said, level 2, level 3, or whatever is like me, right? I told you guys on the previous screen, 89 to 93, that's noise. That's not a big difference, right? If you were to scramble the images in a different way than they did it, you'd probably get completely different results. Like that's how much noise you have in these results, right? So yeah, I mean, do what you can with the knowledge that you have, right? This is not the only study that presents p-values or bad p-values in this, right? Lots of studies present them, right? So get out there and try this for your own. So I'm talking to people like Fatima or, other students or you're early in your studies, right? You can find this, and do those little pieces of analysis, right? I mean, there's a whole study here, right? And we read just the first couple of paragraphs, and you can find things that you can analyze and say, I don't know if I feel good about this study. Very healthy thing for all of you to go through. Because again, at this point also, it's not even just data science, it's just being a scientist, and that's good. It's good for you to develop that scientist side of yourself. Well, great. I really appreciate the feedback, guys. Really appreciate your participation on this one. I think it's just, super important to have that critical eye, that critical mind. And for me, this is kind of how I sharpen just my own thinking and my own studies, right? Or sometimes, if you're looking at the white papers about data science models, it also helps for you to understand how they came to those conclusions, right? So those require a little bit more reading, studying, kind of studying their methodology and all that. But I hope that all of you are seeing the value in this exercise, because I think it's really, really important. But again, appreciate all the participation, appreciate all the feedback. I hope that was valuable. I hope that was valuable to you. That was fun. At least I had fun with it. All right, guys. So remember, Sunday we're going to continue our tutorial series. I think we left off in a pretty good place last time. We're gonna go ahead and continue that. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So as always, really appreciate all of you. Lots of craziness happening in our world. I think it's gonna be an interesting few weeks here for the entire world. So please take care of yourselves. Please take care of your families, and I'll see you next time.